Good morning to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, dignitaries, and our dear friends from all over the Northeast in your finest attires. On this International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples, 9th August 2022, in Dimapur, it is my privilege and honor as the advisor of the Indigenous Women's Forum of Northeast India to welcome you to this august occasion. We are especially thrilled that this year the United Nations theme for 2022 is the role of Indigenous women in the preservation and transmission of traditional knowledge. Today, we will be having our people speaking from the core of their hearts as they bring their messages. We will have our people singing for us. We will have our people dancing for us. Our worldview is that men and women cannot be separated. Men and women form the whole. And even though today, as a women's group, we are the ones who have come here, we know that it would be nothing without those of you who are from the other sex, our men friends. And so today, as you can see, this is something which we are hosting, IFNE, but this is supported by Asia Indigenous Peoples Pact and also the network of Indigenous Women in Asia. And AIPP has in this Northeast region partners. Our partners also here with us in this hall this morning. The Borok Indigenous Tribal Peoples Development Center, the Karbi Human Rights Watch, Naga People's Movement for Human Rights, and the Indigenous Forum. Besides them, we also have with us other communities, other student bodies, other leaders from our indigenous communities in Nagaland, and we would like to acknowledge them in the course of the program. Today, in order to open, I want to give over this time to our indigenous elders to come and open this ceremony with their indigenous blowing of the horn, which is a very sacrosanct act for us with great meaning behind it and with a prayer.
come on, spin yay, make it no no, oh, the Lord shot so, no, come on, so, you know, I can read this, so, Nibalaka and you know, whoa, come up with the net, one shot, what did you go shim, get you from the kitchen body and beautiful. At that also, at the light color also, so. I'm yo, I don't play papa. I'm not going to come to the to go sure to say, get the Gimela, Gilana, Kulu, Jake come out to the time. No, I don't Gina, just Gina, go back. Just soon Gina, go to the valley, Gina, back. Just soon Gina, walk around what day I love you. Why shall I get Gimela, I'm yo. Whoa, come on, slow. I'm feeling low. Come on. So, I can see the sun again. So, come on, it's a new get. Whoa, I'm feeling low. No, you come on, with that. What when I should come on slow? I can see the sun. No, it was short and then shooting like I'm yo. When I should come on, so, when I was shot, let's shot in the end. You can see my shiny. Good. Come on, slow. Make it low. Activities are so. Okay, man, open church, now. Come on, take a foot to be gay. Just sit down and come up to the foot again. Amen. Men.
As we have announced, Asia Indigenous Peoples Pact with its regional partners here in the Northeast India, and one of the women's groups under it being IFNE, ourselves. There are 46 members in IFNE from 14 countries in Asia, and our friends in different parts of Asia are watching this as it is being streamed live right now. And we want to say hello to all of them, wherever you are watching from. From Nagaland, from the indigenous peoples here, we are saying hello to each one of you. Happy Indigenous Day. And as we continue now, we have this time for the welcome remarks from the convener of IFNE. May I call Komali Mosang from Arunachal Pradesh to come on stage.
Namaskar and good morning to everyone. Thank you so much. At the very outset, I, as the convener of IFNE, take the pleasure of extending a hearty welcome to and warm greetings to the Secretary General of AIPP and the Deputy Secretary General of AIPP, Sri Gamji, Sri Mahajanji, on this auspicious occasion of International Day for the Indigenous Women of the world. We are really grateful to AIPP also for giving this opportunity to celebrate this International Day of the world's indigenous people or world indigenous women at Dimapur in the northeastern part. Thank you so much for giving this rarest occasion and a proud moment for us, for selecting this part of the state at Dimapur. Thank you. And also, we are also grateful and extend our welcome to all our distinguished guests. Out of that, the respected Deputy Commissioner, Sri Sachinji, your this presence with us on this day itself is a great source of inspiration for us. Hope you will be throwing some lights, some points of guidance to us. I also extend our welcome, hearty welcome, to all our elders sitting in front of us and praying by our elder for the successful program of this today. And she has also joined with us to celebrate the day. That is also great inspiration, and we really pay our simple homage to those elders also who have taken the pain in bringing the civilization, the communities of indigenous to this extent. And today we are celebrating. Yes, we are proud indigenous people of these northeastern states. So we extend our respect, honor, and welcome to Baido. To all our youngers, friends, those who have come today, on behalf of this evening, extend our welcome, hearty welcome to all of you, and hope today whatever we are carrying out the responsibility, tomorrow it will be your responsibility. You will carry out this movement for the development of our women, especially indigenous of this part of the country. This type of cooperation, looking at the audience, I feel that in future also we will be looking forward. Maybe you are from bureaucrat, technocrat, democrat, social worker, or students, but we look forward for your cooperation. हमें आपके साथ हो तो हमें क्या कमी है? अंधेरों में भी उजाला का एहसास होता है. So that is my feeling. I would like to say that our message should go from our IFNI that we should also be taken into confidence, and that whatever program, facilities, policies are there, that should be known to the remotest corner of the village. For that, again, we need transportation, road communication, e-school, side by side. People like us should go and reach them, not by sitting in office, talking high about, but we should go on foot if required be, reach those people and make them aware about. That is very, very much important and need of the hour. So I feel that massive awareness program be there. For that, of course, it will be our sincere request to AIPP, to NIWA, our senior partners, and also to our leaders and administration too. They should also come out with the support and encourage us. Today, no doubt we talk about 33% reservation, but what about in the decision-making highest body? We are still lacking. So that should be supported irrespective of our political affiliation, irrespective of our profession. Then only, yes, we can go and our women can really touch the pulses and sentiments and understand the problems of our women. So taking few women living in the township area cannot be scaled as a measurement stick for the women standard or women development. So मुझे ये कहना है कि भले समाज हमें काउंट करे ना करे, लेकिन हम तो यही कहेंगे, आप मुझे भले काउंट कीजिए या ना कीजिए, आपकी बात से आपसे हम नहीं है, लेकिन हमसे आप हो सकते हैं, because we are working in the grassroots as a social tireless workers. एक झील के साथ काम करें. जमाने से हम नहीं, लेकिन हमसे है जमाना. महिला लोग चाहे तो कुछ भी कर सकते हैं. We can fold, mold, design and shape. So with these few words, hurriedly I am finishing. इन शब्दों के साथ ऐसे दिल है छोटा, छोटी सी आशा हम भी रखते हैं. चांद सितारों को छूने का तमन्ना हम महिला भी रखते हैं. So please come and support us with these few words. I again like to last point to the IFNI, to our own organization. This time we are celebrating centrally at Dimapur, which is comparatively again advanced state. Lekin we should carry this message and this celebration to the corner of the village. For that again we are to work. So with this, thank you so much all my friends, senior, elders, And younger generation, you are the younger generation for today, you are the buds of today and future of tomorrow, flowers of tomorrow, who will be decorating our society. Thank you so much and wish you all a happy International Indigenous Women Day. Thank you. Praise the Lord.
Thank you, Komali Baido. I call upon our very own Guru, Ruben Mashangva, to please come forward and entertain us with folk blues, which is with regard to our women and our contributions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Komali Mansang, convener. Your remark is really inspired to me. Once again, I thank to all of you, and thank you, John. You invite me here. This is a woman, International Women Day, right? Indigenous. So thank you so much. You know, woman is everything. Without woman, a man cannot do anything. So today, the knowledge of the traditional, so I make this flute. This is the only flute in the world. So I play so many places, so many mainland, and this is only 4-hole. So this sound, the title of the song is Love of Peace. So without women, I cannot make this. Because women help me, give me a food. So after food, my stomach full, that time I create new things. Okay, anyway, I'll play here.
Thank you, Ruben. We're proud of your music and proud of you. At this time, I want to call upon Gam Shimre, Secretary General, Asia Indigenous Peoples Pact, to come and to take his time.
A small talking from all of us here and the indigenous women and men of the northeastern region. To you with love.
Thank you, thank you. Good morning to all of you. This is indeed a special day for us to be celebrating. So first of all, I would like to acknowledge the presence of Mr. Sachin Jaiswal, who is the Deputy Commissioner of Dimapur, as well as Dr. Prashanna Gogoi, who is the Director, Northeast Zonal Cultural Center, Dimapur as well. And my dearest Indigenous brothers and sisters. I express this thanks and welcome you on behalf of all the members of AIPP. Today, I will not share so much about AIPP, but I think if we are celebrating, to make sense of it, or we must understand the significance, why it is meaningful to all of us. And that's what I would like to share a little bit in this bit of time that I have. Let me begin by sharing a little bit of the history so that we are connected, especially for those of you who are new. Indigenous peoples' issues have started years ago. In fact, it goes back to the time of the League of Nations, when one of the indigenous elder from Canada went to the League of Nations to express and to present the issues that indigenous peoples were facing. But he was not allowed to enter and address the League of Nations. But some of the head of states took note of that, and some eventual process of conversation started. So international communities started recognizing to some extent the issue because of the wild effort made by this brave indigenous elder. Now, why I say this is, even though international communities started taking up the issues of indigenous peoples, it was first understood as labor issue that laborers were facing in different countries. And that is why it was the International Labour Organization that first took up the issues of indigenous peoples. And they were trying to address this issue, but somehow the International Labour Organization realized and felt that something is missing. Indigenous people's issues are addressed, are different. It is not merely an issue of the laborers, where the laborers are facing. So it was in this context that for the first time, the international instrument that came into existence is the International Labour Organization Convention 107, right, in 1957. So you can see how much long ago that these things were already taking place. So the government of India signed this ILO Convention 107. And also to the already existing some of the constitutional aspects of it. India had also tried to address by signing the ILO Convention 107. And therefore all this reservation quota system, all these things were introduced, right? But indigenous peoples in general were not satisfied. Why? Because the ILO Convention recognized that indigenous peoples are temporary societies, meaning that we will be mainstreamed over time and will become the same with the rest of the society. So indigenous peoples were not satisfied. Indigenous peoples continue to argue that we are permanent societies with our specific unique identity, based on which we want to progress, develop, and envision our future. So it was quite distinctive, and this distinctive aspect was the challenge for governments to address. So ILO Convention then came up with ILO Convention 169 in 1989 that began to address indigenous peoples as permanent societies. And that is the reason why government of India, for example, refused to sign, because it felt that this was not what is the situation in India. Now, side by side, the UN had committed to conduct studies and so on. Some of you may be aware of the Martinez-Cobo study, eventually which led to the understanding of what are the specific issues and situation of indigenous peoples. With that understanding, to begin to deliberate a draft declaration on the rights of indigenous peoples, right? And therefore that process started. And the issue became clearer and clearer as ILO 169 also came in 1989. And that is how in the World Conference, the Vienna Conference in 1993, that indigenous peoples were also invited to speak from Asia for the first time, because international community by and large thought that there were no indigenous peoples in Asia. But today, it is the highest number of indigenous population in the world, right? So the Vienna Conference was significant because that is the time that the world leaders took the decision and took the resolve and committed to resolve the issue of indigenous peoples, mainly for two reasons, and I want to emphasize that. One was that indigenous peoples' issues is a historical issue, and that must be historically addressed. Otherwise, the bloodshed conflict will continue. So in the interest of world order and world peace and peace in different countries, the world leaders took the decision and prioritized that indigenous people's rights and issues must be addressed. That was one of it. Second was that the international human rights instruments must be morally reformed, because we already have the Human Rights Declaration, Universal Declaration. But why this was needed was by understanding through the studies and processes that began long ago or decades ago, the uniqueness of indigenous people's issue began to emerge. And that was the collective dimension, and also the worldview and identity and cultural issues that was very specific to indigenous peoples, which at that time the world had not understood. So by working on this UN declaration, the effort was to bring about a moral reform in the international instruments itself, right? So by adopting this UN declaration, what this means is that all member states of the UN should undertake and make the effort to reform its own legal system and jurisprudence and so on, so that it clearly reflects what the UN declaration is saying. But perhaps the problem today is that the UN declaration has been ignored and has not been given the attention that is needed. And therefore, even indigenous scholars, organizations, and movements itself have not really gone deep enough to understand how that kind of reformation can be brought about in the interest of peace and justice. All right? Now, what do I mean by these unique characteristics? Because then the unique characteristics becomes very important in the discourse of indigenous peoples, without which we cannot understand what should be the legal parameters, what should be the parameters of rights under which indigenous people's issues and rights are addressed, right? Now, for example, let's come back to Northeast India where we are. There are many indigenous peoples in the region, and we are one of the native peoples of the region, right? But there are also other native peoples who are not indigenous, if you go by the UN DRIP, and by distinguishing it from the rest by what I'm referring to as unique characteristics that all the UN processes and study has been going through and brought out this distinctiveness, right? So for example, indigenous peoples have focused a lot on relationship, and our worldview is quite relational and builds on relationship, right? And the way, one example to distinguish from the rest of the society, for example, why indigenous people fought for this declaration and kept insisting that we are non-state societies, right? That was one of the main factor. And that is to say, even in the pre-colonial times, we did not have a state. Others were organized under state systems, princely states and so on, but we were not, right? So the uniqueness comes from one aspect of that is, for example, look at the land relation in this region, right? If you are in a kingdom, the king is the command and the people are the subjects, right? In a feudal or semi-feudal society, this is what you will see. So land ownership becomes very different, right? At best, you may be a tenant in a kingdom, paying to the princely state to run the state, for example, right? But look at this in our context, where we have always emphasized the special relationship that we have with our land, territories, and resources. What does this mean, right? Meaning that the source of our rights, freedom, worldview is this kind of connection and deep relationship. That's one aspect of it. So for example, if we don't have a piece of land where we say we have a communal system, community system, and there comes with a bundle of rights, family, individual, etc., etc. My intention is not to explain that. But because we have land, we have access to land, in normal times, I'm sure that none of us have heard about anybody dying from hunger, for example, because the community is there to take care, and you must have access to land. And if I don't have any land, what happens? I cannot negotiate with my neighbors as an owner of a land, of a property, right? To do things together, to look after each of our farms or gardens together, right? Sometimes, okay, I'm going to the field to take care of the canal, water canal. Can you look after my domestic animals? And I'll go and also check your canal because we share the boundary of our fields, for example, right? You have the power to negotiate and build relation with your neighbors and the fellow communities because you have property. You have access to the property and land and so on, right? This, for example, will starkly distinguish you from the pre-colonial states, right? Where you are a tenant or where you don't have anything and starvation, that's all these things are quite prominent that we have seen in the history. You know, I need not provide evidences for those things. I would like to now go a little bit further on when I say that our worldview is the source of this relationship that we are talking about, right? And I want to begin by one saying or a quote which roughly translated says that the cat can count the stars, but the cat cannot count the fire heart, right? The 3 stones on which we cook our meals. Why so? Because the cat will sit on one of the stone and count 1, 2, and jump to the other one, count 1, 2, and it goes in circle. So it says that you should not become like the cat. That's part of our worldview, the drawing from our worldview. What does this mean is that you may be a scholar or a scientist of the highest order in this world, but unless you understand where this relationship, because our worldview is all about relationship, where this relationship starts, it will not be meaningful. You will not be able to contextualize, no matter how much of a scholar you are of the highest order, right? So it begins from that fireplace, right? You understand what is marriage, what is husband and wife. You understand what is children, what is to have a family. And you nurture that relationship so that you are extending as a relationship towards your relatives, your clan, your community, and so on. So it's like an open system, right? The relationship is extended, and then you have, therefore, sacred rivers, sacred mountains. That's how we relate to. And that's where the hornbill, for example, is a symbol of freedom. The tiger is a symbol of bravery for some, and so on. And Mithun is a political symbol, for example, for the Nagas, right? So you extend your relationship to the environment and the world that is surrounding you. This is all relational. It's an open system. But you have your land and territory where you exercise your rights, governance, freedom, whatever that one may say, because that is the territory under which you exercise your agency to build that relationship. And building this relationship means, and therefore, we're extending to the international arena, and that is what it means that you have a UN declaration that is universal. So we are not closed, we are also open, right? Democracy is essentially about that, right? If there was no democracy, you think that UN would have functioned? Every state will complain about the UN today, but we don't examine whether our states are democratic or not. It's a two-way thing. I'm sure the UN will function better if states are more democratic, for example. Democracy is also an open system where you invite, build relation, and that's where all this internal relation, bilateral, many things is expanded, but we don't realize these aspects. And that is the same with indigenous when we're talking about this relationship. You know? Now, this relationship and aspects, let me just focus a little bit on the women, because why should we celebrate the role of indigenous women at the international level as a universal aspect of it that we need to recognize, right, on this issue of knowledge transmission? Yes, preservation and transmission. In some indigenous tradition, the feminine symbol is expressed as Mother Earth, and the masculine symbol is expressed as Father Sky, right? Now, it doesn't mean that these two things are starkly separated. Remember, we focus on relationship. So what is the relationship between these two? So some indigenous tradition will say, I forgot left-right thing, but I think some say the right side of any individual represents the masculine symbol, the feminine symbol, and the left side represents the masculine symbol. You know? So it's not separate, but it is to say that everybody embodies this. And the way you embody it is the way that you create a more peaceful kind of society. So when we say that Mother Earth is the feminine symbol, what this is representing is the creativity, the innovation, the life giver, the sustainer of life. These are not trivial things. But what can be greater? What can be more powerful than being able to sustain life, for example? But we are trivializing a lot of these things, and perhaps that's one of our problems. Creativity itself, you will see all these shawls, traditional clothes, textiles that we wear, were all domain of women. They created all these creative things, beautiful things, right? So, for example, in the Angami, you know, the story goes to be very short. In the stone, in the forest, something was inscripted which nobody could read, but it was only the women who could read. Meaning that women found that creativity to access what is beautiful, what is artful, things that fit together, and things that can express joy, successes, and so on, right? It goes like that, and that's the fact with most of the indigenous communities, I would say. And in the textiles that we use, for example, there is also a symbol which is called the eyes of the loom. What this means is that that is the key, that is the doorway through which you can access this abstract art, beauty, and then bring it back forth into kind of a visual art. And that is what is all representative of women, and primarily the domain of women, which I don't think we can argue, for example, in any case, right? That is why we have to recognize, the celebration is about that women has to be recognized as right-bearing agents, right? Therefore, equality of rights, equality of opportunity are fundamental if we have to make the society grow and be sustained in a more harmonious way, building on that kind of a relationship that we are talking about. Because, of course, I'm not talking so much about the masculine symbol, but what the indigenous worldview is saying is that when the Father Sky and the Mother Earth meet together and coalesce, you know, and mingle and dance together, that is where this creativity, innovations, prosperity, order emerges. That's what is the indigenous worldview, you know, in some of the indigenous traditions. And some traditions expresses this much more clearly than the others, but I essentially take it that this is quite universal among indigenous peoples. And that is the important aspect, that we need to embody both as individuals. It's not divided between man and woman. but embodying that creates that relationship of harmony, right? That is essentially the point. I was asked to stick to 20 minutes, so I have 30 seconds. I conclude here by saying, therefore, when we talk about indigenous people's rights and indigenous flags or symbols that we talk about, this is what it should represent. That is in terms of our uniqueness and the richness that we have. And that is the time only when we see the meaning. The problem today is that we're losing that machinery of meaning making in our lives, which was driven by the relational aspect of our worldview and so on. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Gam. He has reached very deeply into the indigenous worldview. There is material we want to share with all of you. You may pick it up on your way out with regard to what this worldview means to us. I heard our Komuli Baido telling us to use our feet and not only sit in our office. Mr. Sachin Jaiswal, Deputy Commissioner of Dimapur, has just been on a walkathon and has come into our presence. You may kindly take your time now, sir. We are so happy to have you despite your hectic schedule, and we ask you to continue to be with us as long as you can and to share the feast at the end also. Please come and take your time. Sir, as a token, we want to present this to you. Please use it when you go to office to carry your tiffin and to carry your water in this bamboo artifacts.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chairperson for today's program, Madam Ayo Iyer, Advisor of IFNI. Respected Secretary General, Mr. Gam, from the Asia Indigenous Peoples Pact, who's amidst us. The Network of Indigenous Women in Asia, and the members of AIPP in the northeastern region. It's a matter of proud privilege for me to stand amongst you all for this celebration of this International Day of the World's Indigenous People, and also the role of women predominantly and most importantly in the lives of the indigenous people. So it's a very, very momentous occasion today that we are celebrating, especially in the context of our country in the northeastern region. What we see, how we have come this far and what the future holds for us. I think it's a very, very great opportunity for us to put our brains together, put our hearts together and decide what is the way forward. How can we take this, the indigenous motto that we have with our future generations also going forward. So I think our Secretary General AIPP has covered in detail about how the affiliation of the indigenous people, how it reached the global forum, what thoughts it invoked in the member nations, and till what position that we have reached. Of course, as far as the rights are concerned, the indigenous people they have added feather in their hats in the preceding decades, but yes, so many things are yet to be achieved, and for that I think occasions and events like this are very, very important, where some important agendas can be discussed, some pledge for the fourth year coming forward can be taken, and reviews of the works done can be done. I think it's a very, very important occasion. As we know, the role of the indigenous people, if we say, it's very, very important to other parts of the country and the world. For me, I've been in Nagaland for almost 10 years now. I've been serving in different parts of the state, And this is only my first posting in Dimapur. So Dimapur predominantly, it's like a mini India. We have people from the mainland India, we have Rajasthanis, Biharis, Bengalis, Assamese, you name it and they are here. And besides that, we have all the Naga tribes, we have Gurkhas, we have Maos, innumerable communities which are coexisting peacefully in Dimapur. I don't think so there will be any other district which with a smaller population in our entire country where the mix of population and the people is so rich. I think Dimapur can be used, the word mini and micro India actually fits in here, and it shows the beauty of the place and how the communities have been coexisting with each other. Now, indigenous people as the theme itself is the role of indigenous women in the preservation and transmission of traditional knowledge. I think more so when we visit different districts. For me, I am from Uttar Pradesh. Of course, I have come to Northeast before my service as a tourist, but when I actually, my cadre was announced, I was going to Nagaland cadre. Of course, there was a sense of excitement also. There was a sense of anxiety also, that what is this place, how the people will be, how will I survive there, so many things that cross your mind. Of course, I have had friends from Nagaland, from Manipur in my college in Delhi University, but then again to come and live and settle, it was a different set of feelings. But when I landed here, when I used to interact with the people, it was of course a sea of change from the culture where I come from, the food that I eat, the religion which I follow. But then there were so many good things which I could learn from Nagaland. Even when people when I go once in a year, when I visit my hometown, people ask, how is the place? And I say, I can't explain to you. Actually, I can't explain in 5 minutes what is Nagaland to them. I said, you should come and experience, and then you will only know what Nagaland it is. So, and many of my friends in the last 10 years, they have visited and they have had so many fond memories of this place. So this shows what kind of, even if you are posted in Mokokchung, you go to Pact, the things are different. You go to Twensang, so many diverse practices are there, so many diverse intellect is there. The role of women, especially in the environment protection, it becomes very, very important. We have small communities, we have those community conserved areas where the major role is now being played by women. Of course, there may not be any formal organization as such, and in the village council also you may not find many women. I don't think there will be hardly any. But then still the guards of the community assets are the women. The guards of the granaries are still the women. So these are the traditional knowledge which needs to be inculcated to the future generation. Last year I was I was representing our Chief Secretary in the NPSC interviews. So I got an interaction to interact with many of the bright youngsters of the state in the commission during the interview board. So majority of them, they may be Kumangan, they may be Changs, they may be Yumkins Aus, but besides Dimapur and Kohima, people have not gone. Even I was Deputy Commissioner in Pact headquarters, those of you who have visited. The geographical position is a bit remote, as in, no, you don't need, even people call it the world's dead end, that you don't cross Pact and reach anywhere. So even people staying in Futsiro, they have never visited Pact. It was such a surprise for me, people not visiting the district headquarters as such. I think my appeal is, with so many wonderful people of representing their communities, their own tribes, I think we should be more adventurous. At least as far as our state is concerned, we should not only concentrate ourselves in Dimapur and Kohima, because this is what is the biggest challenge the indigenous people are facing. Today, I was just reading about some facts. There are about 2,600 languages, indigenous languages, and which is, if they are not inculcated, if they are not transferred, then it may get extinct in this coming decade. It's a huge number, 2,600, and I don't know, majority of, I think more than 50% we can find in the northeastern part of our country. So I think it becomes it's the collective asset of our own people, and we have to safeguard that and protect that. That is why I am saying we should encourage our youngsters, at least, if not every month, it's not possible, but at least during the festivals, during Christmas time, one should go visit his village, feel the lifestyle, interact with the elders, then only we can preserve it. Otherwise, the progression and the changes in civilization is so fast, and with the lesser number of population, within no time people will lose their relevance and the waves of globalization will sweep each and every one. So I think it's a challenge that we have ahead, and we should positively take it and encourage our youth also. As the role of indigenous women, it's become very important when I also interacted. I'm just sharing what I have experienced during my stint in Nagaland. I was there in Mokokchung again. There's a village known as Khar village. So they have some, I'm forgetting the name of that indigenous medicine. So whenever you have any, say you have an upset stomach, or you say you have any gastric disorder, so I just happened to be on my village visit, and the village council chairman, he offered me that. So I was also very skeptical. What is this? Is it intoxicating or anything? Then it's just for your natural your gut. So I had that, and it was amazing. I would say I used to feel so fresh, and it's not a medicine also. It's just with your meal you can take it, and still with the DCs posted there, I have even taken it back home, given it to my parents also. This is the rich diversity. This is just an incident I am saying. I don't know how many things like is still being practicing in other tribes as well. Last year I was posted in Department of Agriculture as additional secretary. I went to Chizami village where in Pact district, the northeastern network, the NEN, I think they had organized one event on the World Environment Day, if I am not wrong. So there they had an exchange of seed program. So it was a beautiful program. Even ladies from Noklak, if I am not wrong, they visited. From Chizami area, from Chozoba area, ladies were there, and they were exchanging the knowledge, exchanging the seeds. Few had Kholar from Noklak, few had Kholar from Chonsang, and the confidence with which they knew that within these 2 weeks from, say, for example, in July you have to sow, or it's so precise, and people were surprised. Even in Chizami people, they do not know. They were asking questions. Ito guti to ami halishe, ami laga mati te ulana hai. So it's because of the absence of knowledge and the traditional knowledge sharing. So it was a very, very enriching experience for me also. And people were also sharing that the benefits of these seed sharing that has occurred. The harvest has gone up. The infestation by the pests has also gone down. So these are the little rich resources, knowledges that we have. But then only because of lack of documentation and sharing, it's slowly getting lost. So to document those indigenous knowledges also become very, very important, because if you see, men like me, we can just talk, but women are the ones who act. So I think it becomes very, very important for our women who have taken the burden till date. They have carrying the flag high, and also I'd request to take that extra burden also. At least you should try to document whatever knowledges, whatever practices that we have, because unless and until we document things, many things get forgotten. And this is the problem why we are facing. Nagas, they have always been sovereign people living in their own villages. It's even historically known as a village country. But now in 2022, we experience, as an administrator, I have experienced many villages, they have boundary disputes. They keep fighting with each other. Kunba hevo rati te kheti kati dibo. Kunba jabo tai khan laga pani kati dibo. So many things are happening. It's only because we don't have documentation. The villages have been coexisting peacefully. Even the present inhabitants of the villages, they don't know how their ancestors peacefully existed. They don't know that. That is the problem. They don't know what the relation between one range with the other range was. And it's natural to get lost. So if we document that history, yes, this is how we progressed from 1950s to 2000. This was the relation. Going ahead, this is the relation that we can further share. And if we can document that and share with our people, I think this will really help us to coexist in a better way. So these are the little things which I wanted to share with the audience today. I won't take much of your time, but my just humble appeal is whatever we have to push our youth forward. Our youth, the era of the folk tales, the grandmas telling stories in the night, it is all getting lost. It's now all the era of iPads and mobiles and tabs. But then if we have to protect our rich culture, if we have to carry our traditional knowledge forward, I think the onus is on the elderlies. We should be projecting it in a way it's interesting to them and also making them proud of the rich heritage that the generation has been carrying forward. So with these few words, I'd like to congratulate the entire indigenous community on this wonderful day, and I hope and pray that in all spheres of life, whether it be the scientific era or more especially in our context in Nagaland, in the political decision making. I think this is where the women are lacking. They are not getting the opportunity. Also, we have been wanting for a female face in the assembly for so long. I think this is when at the highest decision making body of the state assembly, if we can have the abled women who are all here, I think our state will also grow and progress simultaneously, coexisting with the natural traditional knowledge that we have. So thank you very much and congratulations once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sachin Jaishwal. We will think about the suggestions that have been made, which are for our present, but much more for our future. I don't know if we can call Chicken onto the stage, but this is what the attempt will be today. Chakisang Zuvi Cultural Club of Naga United Village is now going to present us, ladies and gentlemen, with the chicken dance. I call them forward.
Good morning, all of you. Now we will show chicken dance of Chakisang Naga tribe.
Thank you to the Zuve Cultural Club from the Chakasang tribe. This is what we call innovation. This is something which is based on what the villagers used to actually sing, but it has been innovatively made into what we just witnessed. Thank you so much. At this time, I want to call Dr. Prashana Gogoi, the Director of Northeast Zonal Cultural Center, to come and to take some time as he gives us greetings on this day. Please come.
Really, I feel honored to be part of this program. And right now, you have seen the Chicken dance from Chakasang tribe. And I am very happy that Mr. Fusao, he is one of our officers from Northeast Cultural Center. And I feel proud that at least my zone has represented here. But I have heard, you all have heard the voice of this male folk, isn't it? So some female voice should go to, yeah, just like it. So that can be incorporated. Anyhow, this celebrating this International Day of World's Indigenous People, August. Really, we feel that it's very important for us. And next time, another support will be with you, that is from NIWA, from next time. Everyone knows that in our Northeast, women played a big role in transmission of each and every culture, that from food to clothes to every tradition, So we want that from NIWA, we will make it a bigger program like this one. As you know, out of more than 500 or 600 tribes of India, more than 272 tribes are in Northeast itself. So Northeast is a typical region of North India that we are following these traditional systems, indigenous knowledge, any kind of food habits, ethnic foods, then our costumes, our cultures, our cuisines, everything is indigenous, ethnic. So we think that from next time, NIWA will be a part of your organization in promotion, in promoting, and in preserving each and every indigenous culture of this region. And let the world discover us, who we are. You know that United Nations, they are giving much more emphasis in protecting this indigenous culture of each and every type of people in the whole world. We are losing our own culture, but we are celebrating our festivals in a different way. So right now, we think that NIWA is taking up such kind of festivals with proper decisions along with local organizations just like this one, that in future what we are doing, what we will be celebrating, it should be totally in collaboration with you. That is the Women's Forum for Indigenous Women's Forum from Northeast India or like that. And we want to represent our culture in different places outside Northeast also along with our organizations. You know, I am born and brought up at Arunachal Pradesh. In here now in Nagaland, being the director, I have seen it. People talk about handloom, isn't it? There is a Ministry of Handloom and Textiles. Why not law and loom? People never talk about law and loom. আমি বাচ্চা টাইম খেলাতে আমাদের পুরো law and loom দিয়ে কাপড়খন বনাই থাকিছে। এটোতো বিজেপি গভর্নমেন্ট পৰা তাহান পৰা ডিসিশন উই নলে that we have to promote law and loom. World Handloom Day is there. Why not law and loom? In Southeast Asian countries, I have seen that most of us here, not only in Northeast region, in most of Southeast Asian countries, we have seen law and loom. My friend Ruben Masangba, we are working together. He's a great artist. He's a Padma Shri awardee, isn't it? He is doing such kinds of promoting ethnic music. So along with ethnic music, we are promoting ethnic costumes also. We are promoting ethnic food also. So our indigenous women can play, our indigenous people can play a bigger role in promoting our own culture. Whenever I used to go to different countries, I always used to put my own traditional dress on. People used to see, from which country, from that makes me proud that yes, I am with people, I'm from India, that this is my culture, this is my dress, this is my ethnic wear or like that. So we must keep our tradition intact. This is our identity. Now for the future generations, what you have said, the role of indigenous women in preservation and transmission of traditional knowledge. You have seen that what tradition we are promoting that is only from oral traditions, isn't it? What we are, hum khan anger korisile, hum log aisa karte the, but it is not written down. So NIWA we got documentation center, documentation projects. In that documentation projects, you can apply. We want to keep those oral traditions in written form so that our young generations can read. हम लोग के पहले का जमाने में पिताजी माँ लोग क्या करते थे? अमहला वाला की किनिका तहन जो बनाइছিলে, with photographs. We got different types of documentation. That is the video documentation, visual, photographic documentation, in script, that is in written documentation, or the audio visual pure. So it is very important that only making some kinds of meetings or discussion doesn't give us the fruit. So NIWA is there to make it practical. So we are providing documentation projects. Those who are interested in documentation projects, they can apply for that one. And next, the younger generations. What the younger generations will do? You know, you are quite aware that Ministry of Culture, Government of India has different schemes in promoting, preserving, and propagation of culture. So different types of scholarships are there for the young generations. They can apply for CCRT scholarship, they can apply for fellowships, junior fellowships, senior fellowships, and they have to do, focus, they have to write, they have to think, they have to, take research project on such type of activities. Now, from where they will collect? Only they will collect from their elders. So, everything depends on the elders. So, for elders, we must give a platform. So, we are creating such type of platforms, not only here, but in whole India. The ministry is giving ample, ways, schemes. You can see, I have seen in Mexico, that is, one festival is there, Gathering of Nations. You know the Red Indians, now they are scattered all over America, Canada, like that. They used to organize one festival at the Gathering of Nations. In the festivals, people from different countries, they are Red Indians, indigenous people, they came, they cry, they sing, they dance, everything, but still they are maintaining their own tradition. You can see the Red Indian culture. They may be in different professions, different fields, but still they are keeping their culture intact. For us in Northeastern region, we are very proud that out of every festivals, we always do all the festivals in our own way. For example, Nagaland is the land of festivals. Then you think about the whole Northeast. 365 days is not enough. Isn't it? If we put one festival per day, 365 days is not enough to complete our whole festivals. Then about these ethnic words, we can see the हमारा dress पर अभी जने को दे कुन tribe लगा से, तो आउ लगा dress किन्हीं का से, लोथा लगा dress कैसा है, क्या dress कैसा, देश से हमको मालूम चलता है. You see, so we have to keep these traditions intact. तो हमारा क्या है, ये आप लोग कभी जो ये indigenous women का जो role है, that is a big role for our survival, for our identity. तो यही role जो आप लोग करते रहिए from our NIWA. Today I have seen, I feel impressed that at least if NIWA support is there, then I will be more happy. So next time, any kind of festivals, any kind of meeting, NIWA is there for you to support you financially or through culture. I can't do anything more than that. Our Deputy Commissioner is there, DC is here. For example, in your letter about land rights, then economic, I can't do that one. This is there, he can do economic, but at least I can help you through cultural issues. For example, promotion of cultures, promotion of handlooms and textiles, everything, that culture, that is my part. Okay, so next time, I want to see any kind of meeting with a big, program itinerary. This is a very beautiful program itinerary. Very concise one and very fruitful one, this one. And I think that next time the representation from NIWA will be more, and I think that not only here in any kind of indigenous people's meeting, I want to see the representation from all the 8 states of Northeast, so that you can see who we are. That's my view, my thinking, and thank you for your kind invitation. I really feel honored to be part of this meeting, and I feel that as women play a bigger role in future also, they will be there, and in future I may be the director or my successors, they will also follow the same rule, what we have done, giving support to women's organization. Thank you.
We have the AIPP regional partners. I would call upon them and I would ask that we keep it to 2 minutes of solidarity messages. And I would call, first of all, on Borok Indigenous Peoples Development Center. Please come and take your time for the solidarity message.
Happy Indigenous Day, one and all. Before I take the mic, I think, may I take the permission from the organizers to call upon my entire delegates from Tripura. At least you all should know who are from Tripura. May I call upon my colleagues, please come forward. So, we are from Tripura. We are the Tiprasa, Indigenous Borok people of Tripura. So, we are very happy to be here in one of the, I would say, the ancestors who really fought for the identity, for our survival and for our self-determination. I think this is the land where we started to fight for our self-determination. So therefore we are very proud to be here and we are really thankful to one and all. So here are our Tiprasa. We are very thankful to you. Thank you. Thank you. Today indeed I think we have heard from our director that he has really emphasized and focused on the identity. And I think today it is not merely organizing this particular Indigenous Day, but merely asserting our right and marking as our identity is a day of today. And I think we're really thankful to our International Forum who has really recognized our rich culture, our rich civilizations, our rich habitations that we have been belonging to this country, to this northeast region. So therefore, we are really proud. Imagine when we are one of the oldest civilizations and in fact, we need to assert our right from whom we never knew from whom. Because we are being termed as a tribal, but nowhere in the Indian constitutions, nowhere in the law of land that the tribal body is existing. If we really emphasize the meaning and understanding of the tribal, I mean it is really uncivilized. But today, the International Forum has given us the identity, saying that these people are the son of soil, who has really looked into mountain, who has really looked into forest, who has really looked into land, and who has really looked into water, stream, and so on and so forth. So we are the owner of this land. We are the owner of this son of soil. But today, when we became a part of India, today we are being known as a tribal. So from today, we are urging the government of India, please don't call us tribal. Call us with our own identity. That would be the most appropriate. So therefore, I think we need to stand. And today, why we are with our dress, traditional dress, is actually we cannot be a mainland stream, even if you try to allow us to become a mainland stream. Because our identity, our future, our culture, our language, our dress, our food habit is totally different. So please let us make us to remain as what we are. I think that is the identity that we should carry out. And particularly this year themes, the role of Indigenous women in the preservations and transmissions of traditional knowledge is something very not simple. It's a very, very unique and very important for our women, because we all knew, like in the history of our ancestors, it is a woman who really keeps the identity, who really keeps our recognitions, who really show the owners of the land. I think wherever you go with our traditional dress, I think they are able to identify us that this fellow belongs to Nagaland, these people belongs to Tripura, these people belongs to Arunachal, these people belongs to Mizoram, these people belong to Meghalaya, Manipur and Sikkim and so on and so forth. But today, we always intend to compromise and we intend to dress up. At least for today particular day, I would love to see that every one of us would have really wear our own traditional dress. But today, we feel shy to wear our dress. We feel shy to tell that we are indigenous people. I think that is the saddest part, and where we could not actually challenge and we cannot carry out our identity. Therefore, we need to respect ourselves. We need to respect our traditional dress so that we can really, transfer and transmit to the younger generations who are actually, upcoming. So that is what the role of our women should be. And it is not merely like coming and giving a deliberations and a good message to the audience. But we have to show by our actions, not by our mouth. What is by our action? If we start wearing our own traditional dress, at least the younger generation, the little girl who's sitting with a traditional dress, will always remember, and nobody will able to make them or force them not to wear the indigenous dress. But today, they will be the young child, they will be the young generation, and that is what we call is the pillar of the generation, where they are able to carry out the generations, the identity across the globe, across the world. So therefore, today it is very significant for us coming from Tripura. Once upon a time, we were not allowed to wear our traditional dress. We were not allowed to speak our own mother tongue. There was a kind of suppression there to be. But today, across the corner of Tripura, every society, every community, every district is organizing the Indigenous Day with lot of colorful traditional dress. And the Autonomous District Council officially organizing this Indigenous Day, which is very, unique in the Northeast. Though the entire state is celebrating, and they were really enjoying, and we are having a lot of food festival, indigenous food festival, and showing our own traditional dress, carrying our, we don't use in the earlier times like a suitcase or another thing. So all this which is made out of bamboo, we are all carrying and we are showing. This, what does it mean? This is the significance that we are transmitting our culture, our traditions to those younger generations who have really forgotten. That is a message that we are actually passing on to our next generation, and that is what we all need to be. And today I was telling one of our Naga brothers who was actually playing a flute. I said, today we are not with a full traditional dress. He said, actually I was not aware. I said, but we all should be aware that today Indigenous Day. We all proclaim to be Indigenous Day, but when we come to the hall, we feel shy to wear our own traditional dress. But at least I really feel proud of him. Like he came and making us to recall the ancestors' time. They're playing the flute made of bamboo, I hope. So nice, so beautiful. And the sound that he made us to understand the different meaning. It is not only the sound that he plays the sound, but their sound has got a different variation and different meaning to the generation, to the people. So this is how we communicate with our indigenous people, and this is how we communicate when we go for a Zoom cultivation, because we are so much connected with the nation. The Zoom is not merely like earning or cultivating for our survival, but it also makes a meaning to preserve our identity. When we go to Zoom, we don't simply wear the torn clothes or we wear a simple clothes, but we wear a traditional clothes and we carry our knife and dowel and everything, and we carry it out made of bamboo and we go to the Zoom. And from one Zoom to the other Zoom, how do we call each other and how do we actually communicate? It's all through flutes, it's all through song, it's all through different mode of communication. This is how. So therefore, when our convener was saying that we are still not in the advanced state, I said, who said we the Northeast people or the indigenous women are the first civilized in the earth? We may not be a degree holder, we may not have a PhD holder, but culturally we are the first civilized who learns to live together as a society, who learns to live together as elder children, a younger generation, and who learns to respect the women. That was. But today, sometimes we say that the women are not being respected. It is not our culture, because the culture has been influenced to us that our men start trying to dominate the women. But let us all revive and recall the past, how the men are being respecting the women and how the women are so-called as a holy. That's why when our Secretary General of AIPP refer how the women are being referred as a mother earth, and how the male father is communicated as a sky. Because this is a culture, but it doesn't mean like making a superior and making a inferior like that. But this is a nature, and this is a connection, and this is a culture. So one community or the one generation, if you start forgetting your culture, that means you are destroying the whole your identity. If there is no culture, there is no land. If there is no language, then there is no land. If there is no language, then there is no land. But we have everything, the language, the culture, everything we have. That's why today we are being recognized what we are. But sometimes when we became as a learned, as a degree holder, certificate in hand, then we tend to forget. I'm also Christian, I'm also Catholic, but I can never forget my culture. Christianity doesn't allow you to forget your culture, but to make you to preserve your culture. And that is what the indigenous people, the activists are actually, asserting our right. I think that is what we have to be. And with this few words, I would like to actually congratulate everyone who have really spent your time, valuable time here, and making us a common platform. And we all from Northeast are here, and we came to extend our solidarity and our message that we're not divided as a Northeast, but we are united as a one platform as a Northeast. Thank you very much. Once again, happy Indigenous Day. Thank you.
Thank you. And I call upon Karbi Human Rights Watch. Please come and take your time for the solidarity message. We give you 2 minutes, please, if you would be able to keep to the time. After that, I call upon Naga People's Movement for Human Rights, and after that, the President of Naga Students Federation. Welcome to Karbi Human Rights Watch.
Thank you, Chairperson of IFNI. Secretary General of AIPP, Mr. James Ray, Deputy Commissioner of Dimapur, Mr. Jeswa, Director of NIWA, Dr. Gogoy, and all the indigenous friends of Northeast India. On behalf of Karbi people, on behalf of Karbi Human Rights Watch, I would like to extend good wishes to you all on this occasion of Indigenous Peoples Day. This year's theme is really the need of the hour. If we look at the position of the woman in Northeast India, and also I would like to, particularly talking about our own woman, Karbi woman. Traditionally, in our community, it is the woman who played a very important role. Right from household work to other activities. Right from birth to death of a person, in every occasion, it is the woman who used to play a very important role. And without woman, nothing is possible. And it is our mother, our sisters, who knows our nature, who are very well versed what to eat and what not to, which are going to heal us, which are not going to heal us, which are going to have a bad impact on us. So what we feel is that this year's theme is the need of the hour, as we have to carry on our tradition, which is there since time immemorial. It is the woman who used to cook us good delicious food. It is the woman who used to make homemade or handmade apparels, which are keeping our tradition alive. So I won't take much time, as I have been allotted only 2 minutes. It's a very precious 2 minutes. So Lastly, I would like to thank IFNI for creating this opportunity for all the indigenous peoples of Northeast India to come together and celebrate this very important day here in Dimapur. And I hope that this coming together is going to be a historic event for creating more such platform for interaction, for promoting our own culture, our tradition, and of course, keeping our own rights, raising our voice against all the problems that we have been facing. Thank you. Thank you.
Every year on this day, the 9th of August, marks the International Day of the World Indigenous People. The indigenous peoples from all over the world amplify and assert for the protection and promotion of their inherent rights. The theme, the role of indigenous women in the preservation and transmission of traditional knowledge, is very significant. This day is celebrated to acknowledge the contribution and achievements of the indigenous communities. For us as an indigenous communities and as indigenous people, the system and the way of life that our ancestors have followed for centuries have always served us with positive outcomes and are born with such systems and practice that now forms an integral part of our lives, giving purpose and values to our existence as indigenous people, has in turn ensured peaceful and harmonious life. Today, indigenous women taking the lead as a promoter and the practitioners of our unique cultural heritage. Indigenous women are the backbone of the indigenous peoples, communities, and thereby plays a huge role in preserving, reviving, retaining, and transmitting the traditional ancestral knowledge. However, despite the significant role played by our women, they are often faced with discrimination at different levels, risking their life, risking their right to self-determination. But at the same time, we cannot ignore the crucial role played by them. Therefore, it is important to restore and acknowledge the real role of our indigenous women. The Naga people movement for human rights take this opportunity to celebrate, honor, and express solidarity with the indigenous women for their leadership and contributions towards a sustainable and equal future. To our indigenous women, finding the center of strength within ourselves is, in the long run, the best contribution we can make to our community. One woman with indigenous inner strength exercise a great calming effect on panic among people around her. This is what our society needs, not new ideas or inventions, important as these are, and not genius or a superwoman, but person who can be, that is, the person who have a center of strength within themselves. Thank you.
May I call upon the President of Naga Students Federation. I think he may not have been able to join us. At this time, I will go to folk blues, which we will be presented with by Guru Ruben. Before he comes on stage, I just want to also take the time to acknowledge that we have, we have with us the different communities of indigenous peoples living in Dimapur, and some of them have come and they are here with us. I want to acknowledge the presence of our Garo people in our midst here. Are there any of them here? Could you stand up where you are? Yes, give them a big hand clap. These are our Garo community from Dimapur. Thank you for joining us. Please take your seats. Can I call upon Kacharis? Can you please stand up wherever you are seated? Thank you very much. Can I ask the Borkas to kindly stand up and show us their presence? I acknowledge that actually they have come together as a team. It's their men, it's their women, and it's their youth also who have come. I call upon the Masa group to also please, yes, their ladies have joined us today. Thank you for taking this time to be with us. I think there may be one or two others that we have not yet acknowledged, and in the course of our program, we will continue to call upon them. Can I call upon Mr. Guru Ruben to please come forward and present us with his focus?
Song I'm going to sing is the same topic. So many speakers, they say everything, so no need to explain anymore. But I'll give only melodies. Regarding this song says, woman is good. So this song is appreciated for women. That's because today's Women's Day. And one more thing I want to say, my friend from Tripura, she told, why not? What's wrong? What happened? Why don't you wear the indigenous one? I supposed to wear, I brought. But today's Women's Day, if I wear it, I'm too sexy, so it's I wear long pants today. So next year I'll do this. So this is a cicada sound. Sorry, don't
Thank you. I cannot tell you how refreshed one feels after listening to that music. Thank you. This time I would ask Mr. Sri Kumar Mahajan, the Deputy Secretary General of AIPP, to come and to take his time. We give you this platform. Small tokens of us.
Thank you, Chair, for a brief introduction. Thank you, everyone, for being here in this important occasion of International Indigenous Peoples Day. Dear Indigenous brothers and sisters from in Northeast India and distinguished guests, especially the Deputy Commissioner and the Director of Northeast Cultural Zone. Jodolapa, Namaste, and Indigenous greetings from Nepal. I am coming from Nepal as a representative of Indigenous people in Nepal. So it's my immense pleasure to be here to celebrate this Indigenous Peoples Day with Indigenous brothers and sisters in Northeast India, and which is hosted by IFNE. And you can see this is supported by Asia Indigenous Peoples Pact and Network of Indigenous Women in Asia, and also in partnership with AIPP's members. Especially we have 5 members here in Northeast India, and it is an important day for all of us since all the Indigenous peoples from across the globe are celebrating this Indigenous Peoples Day with key messages, and we have already seen that number of messages and also the key commitments, and we have seen some of the commitments from the government part as well, like the cultural zone also gave some commitment to collaborate in coming days in the future. More importantly, we have to celebrate this, and we have been celebrating as a part of beginning of the whole year, because this is not for just a celebration for a day, because we also need to continue our commitment in the coming days throughout the year, so that we will be able to implement all those commitments and into actions by different means and different approaches. And Deputy Commissioner also mentioned about the documentation part, which is very important, and we can document in different forms, not necessarily in the written forms. Maybe we can document in video forms, audio forms, and many other forms, which can at least preserve some of the indigenous knowledge and practices we have done. And it will be also helpful for us to also transmit to the younger generation, which we have already mentioned that. So documentation can be formed in different possible form, which we have to decide like which will be the appropriate form for us to continue that documentation. And this year the theme is very clear, that role and contribution of indigenous women in transmission and also preservation of this traditional knowledge. And being Asia Indigenous Peoples Pact with the Indigenous Women's Program and also the Network of Indigenous Women in Asia, the visibility of these indigenous women and their contribution in preservation and transmission has been increasingly appreciated and also acknowledged, which is also one of the examples you have seen. The theme of this year's celebration is role of indigenous women in transmission and preservation of the traditional knowledge. So we have to continue that. We have to emphasize the role of indigenous women, since they are the guardians of forests and the families, and they have multiple roles in family, in society, as a producer, as a preserver, protector, caregiver, caretaker, and knowledge holder, and also the transmitter of the knowledge, transmitter of the culture, and transmitter of the language. And we have also discussed about the importance of language to the younger generation. For your information, the UN has announced the decade of indigenous language from 2022 to 2023. So this is another era of preserving our language and transmission of our language to the younger generation. Moreover, the indigenous women are the backbone of indigenous family and society, with their crucial role in preservation and transmission of the knowledge and the practices and the skills. Also, they have been contributing, in fact, leading many collective advocacy and lobby and campaigns for defending the rights to land, territory, and resources, and also to some extent in the conflict management in many of the indigenous society. So we have been hearing some of the examples in Northeast India as well. So this needs to be continuously documented and also promoted in other parts of the world. And I'm also glad that we have seen the AIPP members, especially the 5 members from Northeast India. They are coming together for this important celebration today, and also having some kind of key messages and commitment to work together in coming days, which is very important. And also AIPP also prioritizes to support indigenous people's organizations, especially the member organizations in the region, and also the partners, so that this can be collectively strengthened and also amplify the voices and also the solidarity and cooperation among indigenous people's organizations for the recognition of indigenous peoples, indigenous women, indigenous youths, and indigenous persons with disabilities rights and recognition. For your information, we have also started some of the work on promotion and also recognition of indigenous women with disability or indigenous person with disability as well. So that is also another chapter we have started and needs to be continued. And this joint celebration of indigenous peoples in Northeast India certainly give positive message to the world. Like we are also in live stream in the Facebook of the NIWA, so which is kind of positive message towards the all of the people watching this live stream. And I'm quite confident that this solidarity and cooperation among the indigenous peoples and also the indigenous brothers and sisters in Northeast India will continue, and which will be kind of helpful for working collectively in solidarity for the rights and recognition of the indigenous women and indigenous peoples in coming days. And AIPP would be happy to be part of this whole process as technically providing support and also the financial support to amplify and secure the rights of indigenous people, indigenous women, and we are committing for that. Jai Adivasi. This is just a brief message from my side, being a Deputy Secretary General of ASEAN Indigenous Peoples. Thank you very much.
I think it has been remiss of me not to also point out that under AIPP, they have the women's wing, the network of indigenous women in Asia. We would have had their the women who are heading this with us, but unfortunately, due to reasons beyond their control, they could not make it here. And we want to have a short solidarity video right now, which has been arranged by NIWA.
Hello everyone, I'm Susie from Indigenous Papua people, and I'm from Taiwan. This is my daughter. Her name is Mira. We want to celebrate Indigenous Day with you all there. Indigenous women are the key solution, key knowledge holder, and also the whole life keeper of Indigenous people. When we talk about how to respect indigenous rights, yes, please don't forget your daughter, wife, mama, or grandma. They are the one who take care of the family, farms, and the whole family, especially whole groups. So, just would like to send our regards from NIWA and PITA, AIPP.
Thank you. I feel sorry we won't be able to show the other messages of solidarity that are coming in actually through NIWA's different organizations, and so we would just end it with that. I do apologize. At this time, we'd like to call upon the reading of the Northeast Declaration. I will call upon Ms. Anima Deb Barma. She will be doing this part of it. We have a slight change. So I call upon Ms. Anima Deb Barma of Borok Women's Forum Tripura to read the salient parts of the Northeast Declaration.
Okay, Jotonono Kulumka, Namaste and good afternoon. I'm here to read the Declaration of Indigenous Peoples of Northeast India. We stand here today because of our ancestors who have walked before us, and we hold our responsibilities to those who will follow us as sacred, and we recognize and thank the indigenous people on whose land we meet today. We have withstood untold sufferings from pre-colonial to the post-colonial era and have survived even near annihilation of our homelands. We have rose time and again, and we stand proud, refusing to perish because of our undaunting spirit of freedom that we have inherited from our ancestors. We commemorate the International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples as a common symbolic victory and in acknowledging our appreciation towards states and international community in recognizing the equal importance of extending the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights and the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, as well as the Vienna Declaration and Program of Action, and affirming the fundamental importance of the right to self-determination of all peoples, by virtue of which they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural development. We are convinced that the recognition of the rights of indigenous peoples enshrined in the UN Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People will enhance harmonious and cooperative relations between the states and indigenous people and with all societies based on principle of justice, democracy, respect for human rights, non-discrimination, and good faith. Thereby, we, the members of Asia Indigenous Peoples Pact, Indigenous Women Forum of Northeast India, Naga People's Movement for Human Rights, Karbi Human Rights Watch, Borok Indigenous Tribal Peoples Development Center, and Zo Indigenous Forum solemnly proclaim the Declaration of Indigenous People of Northeast India to be pursued in a spirit of partnership and mutual respect. That our struggles to restore our right to self-determination through self-governance is a social necessity, and for the free determination of our political status and pursuance of our economic, social, and cultural development. We stress that our struggle for self-determination is for democratization that encompasses our communitarian forms of democratic governance, indigenous worldview, and universal human rights principle. Second, that our customary institution, governance system, and customary laws, which are firmly rooted in our worldview and ethos, underpinned by the values of justice, fairness, and inclusiveness, have been greatly weakened by the imposition of state structures and alien legal system, and the influence of foreign cultures. Third, that the continuity of our relationship with our lands, territories, and resources, and the preservation of our identity through our own language, religion, and customs is continually under threat by means such as militarization, unsustainable development programs, displacement, cultural domination, and imposition of alien education system. Fourth, that despite the heroic struggles and contribution of indigenous women against militarization in peacemaking and in the preservation and propagation of indigenous society, inroads that have been made in empowering and advancing the rights of indigenous women have not been adequate, and there continue to be significant challenges in securing their equal treatment, particularly in land rights and decision-making process within our political spheres. Fifth is that the challenge posed by the loss of biodiversity and unprecedented rate of climate change is spurring erratic widespread events spanning borders that potentially threatens people's life, welfare, and world peace. We as people with intimate symbiotic relationship and directly dependent on environment, our survival is at grave risk. The crisis wrought by biodiversity loss and climate change implicates moral and political responsibility for all states and people to come together to ignite transformation from local to global levels. And the sixth point is that despite the headway and opportunities provided with the adoption of the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, we are concerned that not much progress has been made in achieving the rights enshrined in it, and that governments in India are reluctant to embrace it. Having committed ourselves to the above and affirming that all doctrines, policies, and practices based on our advocating superiority of peoples or individuals on the basis of national origin or racial, religious, ethnic, or cultural differences are racist, scientifically false, legally invalid, morally condemnable, and socially unjust, we call on the government of India to acknowledge that indigenous people in the country have suffered from historic injustice as a result of inter alia their conquest, colonization, and dispossession of their lands, territories, and resources, thus preventing them from exercising, in particular, their right to self-governance and self-determined development in accordance with their own needs and in service to the larger society as well. To undertake prompt review of the peace accords, agreements, and other arrangements made with indigenous peoples of Northeast India for rectifying its inherent weaknesses and defects to comply with the minimum international standard as set out in the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People and other human rights instruments. Such peace accord agreements and arrangements include inter alia with the Boroks of Tripura, the Karbis, and other indigenous people of Assam, the indigenous people of Mizoram, Manipur, Meghalaya, and Arunachal Pradesh. To evoke its commitment to the Indo-Naga peace process that has dragged on for 25 years without solution at sight. It has lost its momentum, and a breakdown will be detrimental to the peace in the region and the potentiality of boosting a meaningful democratization process in the region towards a transformative resolution of political conflict will be derailed. The Government of India must refresh its memory and learn the lesson that the current peace talk is the result of the hard efforts of committed leaders and intellectuals from both sides, which was brokered 25 years ago after more than 5 decades of bloody armed conflicts with heavy casualties on both sides. To recognize the contribution of demilitarization of the lands and territories of indigenous people to peace, economic and social progress, and sustainable development, understanding and friendly relation among different communities and the larger society of the country and the world, and urgently repeal all extra constitutional laws, especially the Armed Force Special Powers Act 1958, and initiate withdrawal of its armed forces from the region. Thank you.
Thank you, Anima. I call upon the Chaksang Zuwe Cultural Club to once again to take us back with their one-stringed instrument tati and to let us go back to the days of our forefathers. Please come forward. Thank you so very much for that performance. At this time, I call upon our co-convener, Abole, to please come forward and on behalf of IFNE, read our statement. For paucity of time, I just ask her to perhaps read our first, the first part, and then perhaps the last part, and we will be able to give out this statement to those who are interested to collect it from us. Please come forward. Abole.
Thank you, Chairperson Ayu Ayer, for having me here to read out the statement of IFNE. Statement of Indigenous Women's Forum of Northeast India on International Day of the World's Indigenous People, today the 9th of August 2022. We, the members of Indigenous Women's Forum of Northeast India, have come together in solidarity with all Indigenous women in Asia and Indigenous peoples' organizations in Northeast India for the recognition of our rights and to reclaim our roles in the preservation and transmission of Indigenous knowledge. We are dismayed that states have not shown true commitment to implement the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. We therefore call on states to fully recognize the importance of implementing the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples for democratization of states and to promote genuine pluralism for peace and justice. Currently, we have 9 unit members of IFNE. They are Kuchdoa Janama Jyoti Block Mahasangha, Zeme Mothers Association, North Kachar Hills, Tangsa Women Welfare Association, Arunachal, Naga Women's Union, Zomi Mothers Association, Lai Women Association, Naga Indigenous Women's Network, Tuinsang Women Welfare Society, and Borok Women Forum from Tripura. Thank you.
In order to shorten our time, I'm standing here to say a vote of thanks to all of you. You know, like if I am to express individually, it will take a longer time. So, and normally I don't take time. So I thought maybe this is the time where I should exhibit that I don't take time. First of all, I would like to thank all of you for coming to grace this occasion with us. Without your presence here, it will be incomplete and it will carry no meaning. We would like to thank our Asia Indigenous Peoples Pact and our network of Indigenous Women in Asia, NIWA, for giving us the support that we required to celebrate this kind of event. Without them, I don't think we'll be able to make it. As you know, we are all non-funding civil societies activists. So we express a profound thanks to them and also the staff of AIPP who are, you know, our backbone. Without them, we'll be nowhere. So we give our thanks to them and to our Indigenous Women Program Coordinator, Pragya Rai. She's not here with us physically, but she is here with us. I know that she is there watching all of us and, you know, taking everything like whatever we are doing. And I know that she would have loved to come to be a part of this program, but because of unavoidable circumstances, she could not make it. Thank you, Pragya, so much for the support and the help that you have given to us to make this event a successful one. Then I would also like to, I have said AIPP, but since we have our Secretary General here, Mr. Gem, and then our Deputy Secretary General, Sri Kumar Mahajan, here with us. Thank you so much for, you know, giving your precious time to be here with us and to make this occasion a successful one. Then I would also like to thank our Deputy Commissioner. Sorry, sir, we have kept you waiting for so long, but we know that, you know, you are also a very kind, generous, and a patient person. So we have taken undue advantage of your time, I guess. But we appreciate your being here with us, although we have taken so much of your time. And so also goes to our director, Dr. Prashana Gogai. You know, like seeing the two of you, we feel quite confident, and also we feel so proud that you are here with us, sparing your precious time with us. Thank you so much. Then, of course, our AIPP units of the region, like BI, PDC, Karbi Human Rights, NPMHR, and ZIF, for your support and your solidarity with us to make this event a successful one. Then we also appreciate and acknowledge our DNSU, our Gurkha Union, Garo Union, Kachari, Dimasa, and Tripura Federation, Student Federation, then United Tribal Organization of Assam. Then our IFNI unis from 6 states, they are all here with us. Then our media fraternity. Without you, I don't think our program will be successful. Your presence is always welcome, and we welcome and thank you for being with us. Then our special invitees, our friends and also the leaders from different walks of life, your time with us is something that we value and we appreciate your being with us at this very juncture. Then the cultural performers and artists. Without your presence, I think it will carry no meaning. So thank you so much for availing your precious time to be with us and to entertain and also to refresh us. Then our thanks to all the program participants, and then friends and well-wishers from abroad. We know we don't see you, but you are there watching throughout the events, and we appreciate your taking your precious time to be with us throughout the event. Thank you so much. And then our video technicians. I think without our guys over here, our event will be incomplete. So thank you so much for being with us. Then, of course, the volunteers and the group of women who has done all this decoration for us to make this event a real Indigenous Day. Thank you so much, sisters, for making all the beautiful decoration for us. Then, of course, there's a small souvenir being distributed to you all. You will find different kind of, dry fruits locally made by one of our daughter, and also the fridge magnet. And fridge magnet here, you have seen the picture of a Naga house. We would like to acknowledge and thank our brother Betoka for permitting us to use this photo to bring out this fridge magnet. Thank you so much, Betoka. And as I end my vote of thanks, I would also like to inform the audience, the participants here. We have prepared an indigenous feast because for the indigenous people, any program without feasting is meaningless. So to end up the program in a very indigenous way, we have prepared a very elaborate indigenous food with different kinds of, herbs and foods, and then dishes, varieties of, I don't know what I call it, curries or meat or whatever. So please be sure that you partake and then go, because, when you go and eat that, you will feel more blessed. So we want to send you out with a blessing. But before that, one of our elder, I would like to invite him to come over and then play his talented musical instrument, and then that also carries the kind of song for a blessing for all of us. And after he finished playing that, I would like to call upon our Reverend candidate to come up and then pray for the food, bless the food, and also bless the partaker. Yes, with that, I would like to call our elder Ivaka. Please don't go away without enjoying the food.
Blessed is the person who prays short prayer before the food, for he or she shall be invited again. Then I have to confess here, this game, I solemnized their wedding, isn't it? Thinking that the first daughter, child will be a son, but it happened to be a daughter, isn't it? Anyway, second, see? So all those who are eligible to get married, here is a reverend who can perform a miracle, okay? Shall we all rise as we pray together? Let's pray. Gracious God, our Heavenly Father, the Creator of heavens and earth and sustainer of our faith, we thank you for this International Day of World's Indigenous People. We are celebrating because you have given us this opportunity. And we know, Lord, this is a day that the Lord has made. And especially the women folks has arranged this, to God. People from all walks of life, from different places, they all come together to celebrate. And we thank you, Lord, for the dignitaries and all those who are here this morning, oh God. We have been deliberated, we have listened to, we have enjoyed the songs and indigenous songs and all those that we could participate together. May we live a life that is acceptable in the sight of God, who has created each one of us in your own image and as indigenous people of God. Again, we pray, Lord, the food that has been prepared, Lord, that we all will partake together. You sanctify it, O Lord. Use it for the nourishment of our body, mind, and soul. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.